Hey, and welcome to the Smoke Room, and this is Smokey, and my guest for this evening is Haduke. He's the original owner of RCW. Introduce yourself.
Hello. What's up, everybody? It's Haduke. Finally got into the smoke room. There's a lot of smoke in here. Can't hardly breathe.
Oh, yeah. But I thank you for coming on to the show. I know you got a busy life, but I appreciate it.
Oh, I'll do anything for you, Smokey.
Oh, yeah. But we're going to get straight up in this. First question is, not many people know about, to some of the people that don't know about RCW, what can you tell them whenever it starts back up? What will they expect?
Well, RCW is my original call league that I got on YouTube. Started up June 2008. Had about a 9-month run with it, and of course, when YouTube had all the flagging issues and stuff, I lost my original channel, and I got RCW up and running again. And it's kind of been an off and on type thing over the past 2 years. This past year, I haven't really done much. RCW, of course, merged with OFW, made HCW, and then, of course, HTW 2.0 and whatnot. But plans are right now is to bring RCW back probably around mid to late December, early January at the latest, and it'll be on WWE 12. I'm probably going to be running between a 30 to a 32-man roster, and I've got some writers that are helping me now develop stories and stuff. I'm hoping to have a fully developed storyboard written out for RCW before I even start recording. So I've got 3, almost 4 months right now working on that. So hopefully whenever it does come back, I'll have a good long plotted storyline to keep viewers interested. And a lot of the old characters are going to come back. If anybody's watched RCW before, you'll see, Wu-Tang Man, Spectacular, Skull Rider, Mr. Cool Daddy, and of course there's going to be a lot of new people. There's going to be other people's calls in there. Of course, Smokey and Ethan Locke will be there. Let's see, Ian Mitchell's going to be in there, Aaron Fletcher, the Toxics from OFW are going to be a part of it. Hugo Ryan, Osiris are going to be there. Silas Marks, which is one of Miser's calls, is going to be in there. Cal Lex has got a call in there. So there's a couple of new people that are putting calls in there, Chris and Adrian. So it's going to be a pretty extensive roster, a lot more people being involved. Gregory Black's also got himself a tag team called the Turf Busters. So once it gets up and running, it's going to be more diverse. The roster is going to be kind of expanded on a little bit as far as different types of characters, different types of wrestlers, trying to get away from the whole monster crap, have more high flyers, stuff like that, and kind of more diversity of the different styles of wrestling that you'll get to see whenever it does come back.
Yeah, that's very interesting, especially since it's been a while since RCW been around. It's probably been, you started HCW, they don't count as RCW. They different leagues basically, but
yeah. Go ahead.
What do you think is different now than it was in 2008, basically knowledge-wise? Because back then you were just getting into call and all that. What can you take from what you learned over the years, and what you think you can do to make it better?
Oh, when I first got into it back in 2008, I didn't expect it to be as popular as it got. And I know there's still a lot of people out there that never liked RCW and a lot of people that never liked me, and that's fine. Of course, you're going to have your leagues you like and leagues that you don't like. Mm-hmm. But I never expected more than maybe a handful of people to even like it, because whenever I got into it, I didn't even know what call was. My original goal was playing wrestling matches with characters that myself and my friends had created, and putting commentary on it and just uploading it to YouTube for us to watch and kind of have fun watching, make fun of or whatever. And then after doing that, the first show I uploaded, I started having people coming on my channel and commenting, and then, it was like all these people talking about call and CPVs, and I didn't know what they were talking about, so I started doing some research, and that's when I realized, oh, okay, well, so this is what I've kind of stumbled into. And, of course, you know, that brought me to the SMF forums, and that's where I started learning more. I had watched Zachary Daiquiri's video on YouTube about how to create a successful call league. Kind of took some of his tips and ideas and put them into RCW, and then, of course, you know, the rest is history. You know, I met you and got you reviewing, and, you know, met some other people and kind of got with the people from AWF, which was, you know, Miser and Osiris and Hugo, and of course, met Daniel, and with Daniel came Nerdy Hippie, and of course, you know, RCW just grew and went from 10 or 15 people watching to probably about 300 subscribers within a couple of months before I lost my original channel. So, and as far as what I've learned is that, you know, originally I was just kind of doing it a show at a time. Lots of times I'd have an idea in my head, but when I'd play out the match, something else might happen. And I'd say, hey, that was kind of cool, and I'd just go with it and kind of roll off of that, which, I mean, originally it was working well, and then over time people kind of were getting tired of the whole shock stuff.
Yeah.
So now what I've learned is to try to sit down and actually write out a detailed storyline of how I want things to happen and how I want things to go, which is what I'm doing now with some help from other people. So that way when RCW returns, you can expect actual storylines that make sense, character development. Lots of the calls in the show are actually going to have, you know, background stories. They're going to have goals in mind. You're going to know, okay, well, this is what Wu-Tang Man's after. This is Smokey's prerogative. This is what Spectacular's doing. You know, and Spectacular's feuding with Smokey. Smokey's feuding with Wu-Tang Man. You know, I mean, it's just, you know, that way it kind of adds more sense to the league. So that's the plan. That's what to expect when RCW does come back.
Awesome. Everybody, once they start to get... hang on a second. I'm stuttering here. You got to forgive me. I've been up all night. I had to commentate a show earlier. But the fans of RCW in the past, they will be back. You know they will, because everybody in RCW are loyal. And they always had your back, and they ain't left.
That's true. I've seen, well, on some of my videos that where I've been talking about bringing it back, you know, I've seen some people come back and comment on videos that people that I hadn't actually seen, you know, in a year or more. And, you know, it seems like there's some excitement about the return of RCW, so I'm just hoping that I can live up to the hype and keep everybody interested and keep everyone's interests up. I had originally wanted to bring it back immediately, like in the next couple of weeks. But right now, as few people may know, but if you've been to Haduke Entertainment and you've heard me talk about it, that I'm in basic law enforcement training right now. And starting at the end of this month, on the 26th, I'm going to be starting physical training, which is going to be very, very extensive training. And it's going to be running 4 nights a week, and in the nights that I'm not doing that, I need to, you know, be practicing, trying to get myself into shape, you know, along with my regular studies. And that runs all the way till December 14th when I have my POPAT test, which is the final physical fitness test. And I got to thinking, I was like, well, I mean, you know, with call, you've got so much time that goes into it. You know, you got to invest a lot of time in a call. You know, you record your matches, you do your editing, then you got to put it all on, you got to do all your audio editing, then you got to do your commentating, piece it all together. Then you got to try to fight with YouTube to get it uploaded.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was thinking that I really don't have the time. As much as I want to, I don't really have the time right now. And then I got to thinking the whole aspect of RCW coming back, you know, new and improved, and then with WWE 12, all the new features that they're going to have, the Create an Arena especially, that it'll just be awesome to be able to have RCW return on a new game, actually have its own arena, and just have a new feel and a new excitement to it. So that's what I'm hoping, that whenever it comes back, that combined with WWE 12, that'll help, you know, people get more excited, and plus, you know, storylines in development now that'll be carrying on, and hopefully have enough stories to carry me through the first, you know, 3 to 4 months worth. So it'll make it more interesting.
Yeah. I read a topic on the forum. You probably seen. I seen you comment on it, but about, what was it, 23 titles? They said it was in the game.
Yeah, somebody had posted. I think it was Hugo had posted on the the Call Shack that he had read somewhere where they said there's going to be 23 different championships in WWE 12, and I just kind of commented on what championships that, you know, pretty much are a given that are going to be in there, and then what the extras may be. So, I mean, if there's that many titles, I think that's going to be awesome because it's going to help kind of broaden the horizon a little bit to where I know whenever Daniel and I were working together, even whenever it was RCW, OFW, and then it was HCW, and it was two different, sides to it or whatever, we always tried to make sure that we used different titles. Like if he was using the Intercontinental title, then I would use the U.S. title. If he was using the World title, I'd use the WCW title. So I'm hoping that with 23 titles, that it'll broaden it a little bit.
Especially in call.
Exactly.
You get tired of seeing the same titles over and over.
Yeah. Which, I mean, I'm sure you're still going to see that, and I mean, that's kind of what you just got to puts the imagination and fantasy factor into call. I mean, you're going to see, like in WEDF, you're going to see the WWE World title, and they're going to call it the WEDF World title. And you're going to watch OFW. It's going to be the same championship belt, but he's going to call it the OFW World title, and same thing, CCL and, all the different leagues. And, that's where the whole fantasy aspect comes into it. You got to have, if you're going to watch call and actually enjoy it, you've got to have that imagination to it. So, that's what, I'm hoping that WWE 12 will help, kind of work on that. I'm kind of hoping that maybe one of the titles in the game will be it'll be like a physical belt or whatever, but it'll have a blank name and you actually can name it yourself. Yeah, I think that would be freaking awesome.
Oh, yeah, that would. Sort of like a creative belt, but not a creative belt.
Right. Just a default title, and and you just name it whatever you want to name it. So, if I want to, I could name it the RCW title, and then Daniel could name his the OFW title, and that kind of add a little bit more fantasy to the whole call aspect of everything.
Yeah. But I was talking to WEDF earlier, and he puts out like 3 shows a week, and I just think that's freaking amazing because he works and he does that at the same time. It shows how much work he puts into it.
Exactly, and I mean, I know WEDF and myself. We've had our problems in the past, which we recently reconciled and kind of got past all that, and. I will say that even despite all the problems I had with him and everything, I can honestly say that I've always had respect for him as far as, his call matters because, he busts his butt. I mean, he might go overboard a little bit with it, but I mean, that's his hobby. That's what he enjoys doing. And I mean, if you can put that much time and dedication and everything into a hobby, then, that to me, that is just, unbelievable. And, I mean, that's what makes WEDF such a successful league. He's got some, close to 5,000 subscribers now. He's getting something like 10,000 or more views per show that he does. And,
just about.
And I mean, to me, that is incredible. That's like the dream of every call owner is to be as good as WEDF. And see, when I first got into call, it was ICCW, SCAL, No DQ Wrestling, and SMF. Those were the top dogs. And you look at it and you're like, okay, those are the guys that I want to be. And I remember starting out in mid-2008, a lot of the leagues that are out there now were just getting started good then. Myself, Daniel with OFW, Frank with WEDF, we were all kind of starting our leagues right about that same time. And, Daniel and I, we had problems and stuff and things that kind of happened, personal life issues and stuff that kind of held us back. And not saying that we would be as good as WEDF now. Most likely not, because myself, I just don't have the time nor the patience to put into it like he does, and that, I can commend him for that. He has that time, he has that patience, and he does an excellent job on it, so, I'm not saying, RCW will probably never be that great because, I don't have the time to put into it like that. But I would love to one day be looked at as successful of a league or a call owner as WEDF is. As far as people who do watch it, they all enjoy it, and I have my fans, and that's all I'm really looking forward to. As long as I can make 20 people happy, I'm happy. That's all.
As long as you can have fun, that's the main important thing. Have fun. We all lost track. Every once in a while we lose track and we forget about that. It's good to remember it.
Right.
But okay, moving on. What your main call is called Wu-Tang Man, correct?
Yes.
What was your main inspiration behind naming him that, and the design or the whole complete attitude of him?
Oh, well, let's see. With Wu-Tang Man, he's actually, I mean, I'm sure people have been able to look at the character and then look at myself and kind of put one, two and two together or whatever, but originally Wu-Tang Man was me. I mean, that character was like for instance, Gregory Black, that's his guy, that's him, or supposed to be him. Same thing with Frank Dog, who commentates WEDF, that's supposed to be Frank, the owner of WEDF.
Yeah.
Well, that's the way it was with Wu-Tang Man. And his name actually came back in, probably the early 90s. I used to have a wrestling ring in my backyard that, I built. And, of course, some people I got to see videos of that I had uploaded. And I used to always mimic Ric Flair. I'd always go, walk around going, woo, woo, whatever. And so I kind of got labeled the Woo Man. Everybody started calling me Woo Man. And with the RCW stuff that we used to do in the backyard, we'd always, play it out and kind of do our little stories and record it or whatever. And there was a guy that I used to, so-called feud with, and his name was Mark. And, of course, his wrestling name was Mark Thunder. And he used that and started calling me the Woe Man, like he was saying I was a woman. So that was kind of cool, how that played out. But the Tang part came in where my mom, she'd always make Tang, and if anybody doesn't know what Tang is, it's kind of like Kool-Aid. It's an orange. You normally with orange. I think they have like strawberry and grape and different colors now, but it was just an orange fruit drink, kind of like Kool-Aid. And she'd always make a picture of Tang. Every time we'd always get together on Saturdays and do our little wrestling or basketball or whatever we were doing in the backyard, she'd make a big old picture of Tang. And my character, I became a good guy in the backyard league we were doing, and I started taking on characteristics of Stone Cold. And, of course, I'm 14, 15, 16 years old. I can't really be drinking beer. So I take little glasses and put Tang in them and go and act like I'm down on them like Stone Cold would do beers. So then they started putting Tang in there. They started calling me the Tang Man. And then one of my buddies, Mr. Cool Daddy, he's my lifelong best friend. One day he just kind of put it all together, and he just said, Wu-Tang Man. And that's just, that just kind of stuck. And so from that point on, I became Wu-Tang Man. And that's where the character came from. And, of course, the character in Call was, designed after myself. I've got a little bit of Stone Cold, a little bit of Triple H, a little bit of Sting, kind of all mixed in there, as far as his quiet nature. He doesn't really talk much. He just goes to the ring, kicks ass, and leaves. That's kind of the whole Sting mixture of Stone Cold. Wu-Tang Stunner, of course, derived from Stone Cold. And then some of the moves that he does, the crotch chop, running knee drops, stuff like that, of course, all derived from Triple H. His entrance, of course, being Triple H. But that's basically, where the idea from his character came. And, of course, after a while, I needed somebody who was going to be the owner of RCW. And whenever I got away from using celebrities, that's when H.A. Duke came into the picture. So it's kind of like H.A. Duke is me now. Wu-Tang Man is kind of his own persona now. But, yeah, that's just basically the story of Wu-Tang Man, where he came from and all that good stuff.
That's awesome. And you put it in good detail, too. Very good. Okay, you was talking about y'all may had a ring outside, basically like a backyard fed, right?
Yeah.
What made y'all decide to do something like that? I used to do the same thing just because of boredom and to stay out of trouble.
Well, growing up, we lived in a little town called Grace Creek, and it was out in the middle of nowhere. And, of course, now, some 15 years later, 20 years later or whatever, it's really grown up out there. But, I just had a bunch of my buds. There's probably, at any given time, there was probably between 12 to 20 of us at any given time. And normally, we just all get together when we could and play basketball. And my parents had 2.5 acres of land. So that was the perfect area to get together. We'd play paintball. My dad's got a bunch of pecan trees and stuff out in the back. So it was a perfect area for paintballing. We all were big wrestling fans, and we'd watch WCW Nitro and Thunder, and a little bit of WWE, and and then we just got to thinking one day. Me and a buddy of mine were the only two that were working at the time, and back then, it wasn't like it is now. There was no cell phones. There was no major video game consoles. I mean, the best thing we had back then was a Super Nintendo, and you can only go so far with a Super Nintendo. So it was like, we had jobs, we had money. Gas was like 99 cents a gallon, so it weren't like you were spending all your money on gas. Car insurance was cheap back then. So we just take our money and put it together one day, and we decided, hey, let's build a wrestling ring. And the first time we did it, we took some poles that my dad had. He, was building a split rail fence. He had some extra posts left over. So we took those posts, we drove them in the ground, and we just got a bunch of bull rope that we could find. And that was our first ring. It was just straight on the ground, and that was our first wrestling ring. And, of course, you're running around playing and everything. People are around to get cut and hurt and, and get dirty and stuff. So we were like, okay, well, the next time we decided that we were going to do that, we decided to build a full-fledged wrestling ring, full-scale replica. So me and my buddy, we put our money together. We went to Lowe's. We bought the 2x4s and the plywood. And, we had like the 2-inch 4x8 sheets of plywood. We had 4x4 posts. We went and bought metal turnbuckles to run the ropes through. We went out and bought nylon ropes with they had like plastic cover them over them, so it looked actually like steel cables, and they had the elastic feel to them.
Yeah.
And we put the ring. It was 2 feet off the ground. It was 16-foot diameter, and that was our wrestling ring. And that thing stood in that backyard. I even went as far as keeping it pressure washing, and I would weather treat it every winter. I put tarp over it to keep it protected, and that ring stood in my backyard for about 7 years.
Damn.
The only reason it got tore down was my parents built a new house, and they tore down the ring because, they had to have the area for, bringing in materials and stuff. Had it not been for that, I can't really say the ring would probably be still standing now because, my brother and I have grown up and moved on, so there's nobody there to take care of it. But, yeah, that ring stood for about 7 years, and we went out there and all of us would get together, and at first it was just kind of get out there and just play around and wrestle around just for the fun of it. And then we finally decided, okay, we've got all these guys, so we all made up our own characters. And we actually, every Saturday that we could, we actually started doing legitimate wrestling shows right there in the backyard. We would have our characters, we'd sit down and decide, okay, so-and-so's going to wrestle so-and-so, here's who's going to win. I went on the Home Shopping Network channel and bought an actual WCW World Title belt, a replica of it, the one that they use in WWE now.
Yeah.
I had that. We went to Toys R Us and bought all the little toy kid title belts we could, and those were our belts. And like I said, we'd have between 12 to 20 guys that would come on a Saturday, and we'd just get out there and we'd put on a show for people. And it wasn't long, you figure you're doing this every Saturday, maybe every other Saturday at most, for 2-3 years in a row, and you actually got characters developed that people know who they are. Neighborhood people were coming to the house to watch wrestling. They just show up. And if I had been smart back then, I really could have done something with that. Every one of us, were just in our, between the ages of 16 to 21, 22, whatever. We could have really done something with it had we been smart and played our cards right. We could have started charging people, come and watch it. We could have used that money to, maybe build a better ring or maybe rent somewhere, the fairgrounds or something, and we could have really went somewhere with it because we were on the right track. But, people grew up and, some went to college, others moved away, got married. I went into the military, and when I came home, it was, about 7 or 8 of us that were still interested. And I think we did one last show right before I got married. It was in July of '99. And there was maybe 8 to 10 of us, and we just went out and did a couple of little matches for fun. And that was the end of it. That was basically where it ended. So, and it was called Redneck Championship Wrestling because I'm telling you, it was the most redneck thing you'd ever seen in your life. We'd sit there. Everybody who had trucks would surround the ring, drop the tailgates, and that was where people sat. We're on the tailgates of trucks surrounding the ring.
That sounds awesome.
So, we had our trash cans and our steel chairs, and, we had boards and 2x4s and, plywood that would, you know, if we had plywood that was cracking on the ring, we'd take it out, replace it, and that cracked plywood would become our table that we would slam each other through to keep each other because it's already cracked. So, I mean, at least a little bit of weight would break it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that was it. You know, that was where RCW originally was born, and then, you know, 2008, you know, I brought it to YouTube.
Yeah, that's an awesome story. But okay, moving on to the next one. Since you started Call and since you started watching Call, what are the leagues you watched? And why did you like the leagues that got you interested?
I think the first league I can remember watching was No DQ, I believe it was, and it was the one that had like all the different superheroes and different stuff. And I couldn't even tell you now who the commentators were, but there was just one particular commentator that he sounded like a troll. I mean, he just had that wicked voice about it, and he was always talking crap about the good guys. You know, he's like the color commentator or whatever.
Yeah.
But I remember watching. I followed the storyline with Batman, and I think he was feuding with the Joker or somebody, and they had like this story where he supposedly got killed, and they were having like the big memorial show for him. And at the end of the show, I think the Joker and Lex Luthor or something were beating up Superman or something like that. And all of a sudden, the music plays, and Batman comes out, you know, and he's like the new and improved Batman. And you know, it was really cool watching that. I mean, a lot of people probably think that's just dumb and stupid, but you know, for me, I was watching it and I just thought it was really cool because the guy was using it was a wrestling game on GameCube. God, I can't remember the name of it. Day of Reckoning.
Yeah.
Day of Reckoning and Day of Reckoning 2, I think were the two games he used. And oh my God, it was just awesome. I mean, the gameplay was just so crisp. It was fast, you know. And I mean, he just put so much power and so much enthusiasm into it. And I mean, I just thought it was really cool. And you know, at the time, me and my buddies, you know, we'd get together at the house and we'd play SmackDown versus Raw or whatever, and two of us would be wrestling our little match, and you know, we'd challenge each other, and somebody else would be pretending they were commentating the match. And it was just like, oh, you know, and it just kind of dawned on me one day, and I was like, well, you know, if this guy can record it on a computer, I should be able to do that. So I looked into it, figured out how I had to do it, and first thing I had was a TV tuner card. It was a PCI card that I slapped into a computer, and it had the little coax connector on it. So I'd have to plug in my console into my computer and actually play off the computer screen. So that basically tells you how long ago that was and how I got my start.
Yeah.
And it was a PlayStation 2, SmackDown vs. Raw 2008 was the first game I used. And at the time, you know, it was about 5 of us that played all the time. And that was me, my brother, my best bud Matt, which is where Mr. Cool Daddy come from. At the time was Big Papa B. And then my other friend Mark, and that's where Mr. Spectacular came from. And then, of course, my friend Jonathan that passed away, and that's where Johnny J came from. And I got to thinking, I was like, well, I can't really put on a show with just 5 guys. So I was trying to think where I was going to get other characters from. Couldn't really come up with no ideas. So I saw SMF. I saw No DQ. Saw ICCW. Saw Skull. I was like, well, they're using all these different superheroes and stuff. So I was like, well, I can use some. So I got to look, and I was trying to find ones that weren't being used a lot. And, of course, that's where Homer Simpson and the Hulk came in. So they were my first 2 celebrities. And then I used Mr. T as the original, you know, commissioner for RCW. And, of course, the rest was history. And then other, you know, celebrities I used, of course, was Zach and Cody. I think I was the first, probably only person who ever used Zach and Cody. I used Hancock, you know, from the Hancock movie. I think I might have been the only person who used him. I'm not 100% sure. And then, you know, I just started getting popular, and a lot of people liked it. And the reason I decided to stop using celebrities was because I wanted to make the league completely original. And a lot of people who found it decided they wanted to put calls in. You know, I had Osiris, Hugo, Miser, yourself. I had a couple of other people that, you know, put a call in and kind of, you know, disappeared from the scene or whatever. And a couple of them had said something about, well, you know, I don't want my call in your league if I'm going to be getting beat up by the Incredible Hulk and Homer Simpson. So, you know, it was like, okay, well, that makes good sense. So just kind of went from there, and I just slowly started weeding out the celebrities. until it finally became just a full-fledged call league. And, of course, that's when H.A. Duke was introduced, and all the celebs were pretty much cut from the roster, and I just went from there.
Okay, next question. This is actually a pretty good question. I ain't never thought about asking this before. What do you think is tough to make a show every single week? What is in your opinion the toughest thing to do every single week to make your call league a success and get a constant basis? Put a show out every week.
Well, for me, it would have to be commentating, because I can sit down and play SmackDown versus Raw for a couple of hours and record all the matches I want, get them played out the way I want, and have them sitting on my desktop. And I can do all my storyboard stuff, using the story mode designer, and get it all edited and everything and have it ready to go. But finding time to commentate is the hardest part for me, for the simple fact of having children, at home. And kids don't want nothing to do with you unless you're in the middle of doing something.
Oh, yeah.
So that's the hardest part for me. And then with commentating especially, I've never been the greatest commentator. I tried to add a comedy feel to it to make up for my lack of knowledge of wrestling moves. Because I'm honest to God, everybody who's ever listened to Michael Montgomery knows that Michael Montgomery has no clue what the hell half the wrestling moves are that are performed on this game. And so that's what I bring the comedy aspect into it, and just make up names for moves on the fly, like the bunghole plunger, just different things like that. And so, yeah, with the commentary, you've got to be able to keep the audience interest. And if you're tired or you're bored with what you're doing, the viewers are going to get bored. And there's been shows that I've commentated where I have either been tired or I'm just sitting here commentating and I'm just not in it, and it's just like, oh, God, can't wait to get to the end of this so I can finally upload it to YouTube. And you can tell the difference with shows that you're actually inspired and you're doing your best and you're enjoying what you're doing versus shows where you're just like, let's just get this over with so I can get it uploaded. So, that's one major thing with call. Yeah, you can have the greatest storylines at all, or your storylines may not be all that great. But your commentary, in my opinion, is what's really going to sell it.
Yeah.
You got good, crisp commentary. You can be heard over everything else that's going on. You can pertain to the action. You can talk about what's going on, why so-and-so's wrestling so-and-so, what's going to happen with the winner, what's going to happen with the loser. And, you can just keep that going throughout the show. That's what keeps the viewer's attention.
Yeah.
So, that's my opinion.
Yeah, my personal opinion, I ain't put out a show every single week like y'all have, but I think it's basically you got to keep yourself from getting burned out. Because if you do a show every week and you just push yourself to a certain extent, you're going to get burned out, and it's just going to affect your mood and your motivation to do things.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I've been there. And that's, when you get burned out like that, it sucks because you've got a part of you that wants to do it. It's like right now with me bringing back RCW. I honestly and truly want to do it right now. I want to sit down right now and just put the show together. I've got some ideas. I want to go ahead and go with it. But I know that if I do it, that once, like for instance, look at today's Sunday. Tomorrow's Labor Day. So I have no classes tomorrow. Kids are going to be out of school tomorrow.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I could probably put a show together and it'd be a decent show. But once school gets going back again, I know that I'm going to start slacking. I'm not going to be able to get that show out every 10 days like I want to, or every 2 weeks like I want to. And then it's going to go back to the, parts not being commentated because I don't have time. Stories not making sense because I don't have time to, expand on them or put a lot of emphasis in them or whatever. And I don't want to do that. If I'm going to bring RCW back, I want to bring it back 100%. I want it brought back right. Even if it only runs for 6 months, however long it can run. That's what I want to do with it. So, that's basically where I stand with that and the whole burned out thing. I'm sure every call owner has been there. And it's not a good feeling, because half of you wants to do it and another half of you is it's a combination of getting bored with it or being too lazy to do it or just not wanting to do it. But you got all these people out there that expect you to put on a good show that are looking forward to it. So you just got to kind of do it for them type thing.
You got to battle against yourself.
Exactly. And that's when it becomes a problem, because you want to do it yourself, and you do it for other people, and at that point, that's when it becomes not a hobby, but a job. And once you let your call league become a job instead of a hobby, and then you're trying to cater to everybody else, and you're trying to keep everybody else happy, in my opinion, that's where it becomes, it's not fun anymore. And that's where all the politics and all the BS comes out of. I mean, people are trying to keep other people happy and trying to make everybody content with what they're doing, and they fail to realize, look, this is my league. I started this for fun. Who are you to tell me who so-and-so should be champion, or why so-and-so shouldn't have beat so-and-so, or what didn't make sense? And I guess that's why I get so agitated with people who bash other leagues. You know, and I mean, there's a big difference between, seeing some little youngin' that, little kid that puts a camcorder in front of a TV and starts trying to play and says that's a call league. Now that, yeah, okay, bash them, tell them, you're stupid, that makes no sense, whatever. But then somebody is legitimately trying and then bash them for no reason, to me, that's just kind of stupid. Yeah. But anyway, I don't know how I got onto that topic.
Oh, well, it's good talking. We always do this when we talk. I don't know why, but but okay. Next question. Out of all the time you've been involved in call, who is your top? Probably I'm gonna say top 5 calls that you watched, in your opinion.
What you mean in like overall?
Overall, overall, fantasy or original, it don't matter.
Oh, God, let me think. Top 5 calls that I've watched that aren't RCW. Oh, man, that's a tough one.
Well, it can be involved with RCW if you want it to. I'm just saying it could be fantasy or original.
Let's see. Got people texting me here while I'm trying to talk. Oh, okay. Let me pause just for a second, because I got to go break up a fight with my kids.
I pause.
Oh, you paused it? Okay. All right. So let's see. Top 5 calls. Well, up front, I would say Paul Barber from OFW, because that was Daniel's top guy. When I first found OFW and Daniel and I first got to be friends, I remember watching Paul Barber, because Paul Barber was to OFW the same as Wu-Tang Man was to RCW. So that was the whole aspect when we got our leagues together, was putting those two guys against each other, So I'd say Paul Barber would probably be the top of the list. And then, of course, whenever the torch got passed from Paul Barber to Mark Hawkins, I got to where I started watching Mark Hawkins. And then, of course, bringing Mark Hawkins into HCW and getting to work with him myself and kind of build up feuds with him. And, of course, the whole creation of the Main Event Nation, and then getting him with feuding with Wu-Tang Man and whatnot. So that would probably be my number 2 guy. Number 3 guy I would say would be Jason Richardson. Of course, he started out with HCW. He's went OFW. I've been watching him right now, what's going on with him in OFW. And to me, I think Jason Richardson's an awesome call. He's got his own kind of gimmick about him, and he's an easy character to kind of work with, because you can kind of push him in any type of angle, any type of situation, and it seems to just work well. My 4th one, God knows, this is hard to do, only 5. I'm gonna throw Smokey in there, your guy, simply because your character's been in so many different leagues. I've seen him in WEDF, I've seen him in CCL, I've seen him in SMF. He's been RCW, HCW 2.0. I'm sure there's other leagues that Smokey's been involved in that I probably don't even know of or haven't seen.
Trust me, probably me neither.
Yeah, so, to me, the character Smokey, has really come a long way, especially from RCW, because whenever I first brought him in, I just created the guy as an interviewer, kind of at the time you were interviewing RCW, and I just, made him kind of like what you look like in your interview videos, and everybody thought that was really cool. And, you know, I don't know for a fact. I know I've said before or kind of thought before that I was the first person who ever really brought Smokey into the wrestling aspect of Call. I don't know if that's the truth or not. I just kind of, I think I may have. I don't remember for certain. But anyways, like,
More time you did.
You know, I brought him in, and he started out interviewing, and then, of course, he started getting involved with different stuff, and then before you know it, he's wrestling. And the whole transition from Smokey, the Call interviewer, to Smokey, the actual Call wrestler, was, to me, was just an incredible transformation. You know, whether I had a hand in it or not, it just worked so well, because now Smokey is up there at the top as one of the top calls in Call wrestling. A lot of people love him, a lot of people hate him. But regardless of the fact, you know, you got to respect the character, and you got to respect the guy behind the character, because you've done a lot for Call. So I'd say Smokey would be number 4. Number 5, I mean, you know, I really can't say my own calls, you know, like Spectacular, Wu-Tang Man, guys like that, because the only places you've ever seen them is RCW, OFW, or HCW. You've never seen them in any other leagues.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not one to really brag about my own characters. So, with number 5, I'd probably say Gregory Black. Because I like his character because it's from Boston, you know, so he's got that Boston, you know, mob style accent, you know, the way he talks and the way he presents himself. And, you know, he works well as a face. He's a character, he kind of like a Bret Hart type guy, you know, he's technical, you know, he's a submission expert. He goes out, no matter who he's feuding with, he always seems to gel with that feud and can work through it and make on for an exciting match, you know, if his character is used correctly.
Yeah.
I remember in OFW seeing him and Dandust together, you know, Golden Black. That to me was, you know, was awesome. You know, it was an awesome tag team. It was an awesome storyline. The way it fell out, I wish we could have capitalized and kept that story going, because, you know, that would have worked out great. But, you know, that's, to me, is another one of my favorites. So I guess my top 5 will be Paul Barber, Mark Hawkins, Jason Richardson, Smokey, and Gregory Black.
I guess a good list. I'm sure a lot of people won't complain with that list, because all of them has been in Call for a good while, regardless of how many leagues they've been in. It don't really matter about that, really.
Right.
But that's very interesting. Okay, let's see. We talked about a couple things. I'm going over stuff in my head. Hang on. Okay. Let's see. I'm gonna switch the topic. Until I can come up with a better question, if I can. What professional wrestling organization do you like at the moment, and why?
Well, I mean, I know there's a lot of heat for TNA, but I can't really say I like TNA, because there's a lot of stuff that's going on in TNA right now that I just think is stupid. But, I mean, I just like wrestling in general. So, I mean, I really don't think it would matter to me what the name of the federation is or the promotion or whatever, as long as it's good wrestling. I've always been a Sting fan ever since I was a kid, so I guess that's the one factor that draws me to TNA. And they've got some awesome wrestlers. I mean, they've got some incredible people. I love watching AJ Styles. Like this past episode of Impact, seeing AJ Styles and Christopher Daniels wrestle. That was an awesome match. I mean, they just worked together so well. Now, the ending to that match was really stupid, but you know they're trying to do an angle or a storyline for that or whatever. Beer Money, I mean, they're an awesome tag team. I would love to see Beer Money in WWE.
I've been hearing rumors that.
Yeah, I've heard as well that they're talking that Triple H is trying to get them into WWE. All right, go take your apple juice and then go back and play. Okay, you gotta be quiet. I'm doing something. Sorry about that. That was my son.
That's cool. Apple juice.
But yeah, I mean TNA. I like TNA when they have good matches. You know, the X Division, and they actually let the guys go out there and let them perform. That to me is awesome. I think with TNA's major problem right now is that they need to get away from all of the story BS crap and the mess with Hogan and Sting and Ric Flair. And, you know, they need to get away from all that, and they need to let the people, the young guys, you know, Kurt Angle, you know, he's still an incredible wrestler. He's up there in age now, you know, he can be looked at as an icon, but he can get out there and he can still wrestle. Same thing with Sting, you know, Sting gets out there, he performs. Sure, he's not as good as he was 20 years ago, but he can still get out there and perform.
Yeah.
But no one, at least me, wants to see Sting wrestle Ric Flair again. Yeah, they'll probably put on a good match. You know, Ric Flair can still get out there and he can still entertain, but it's just the principle of the matter. Nobody wants to see a 60-year-old man with flabby titties out there trying to wrestle. And no one wants to see Sting wrestle Hogan again, because you know it's not going to be a legit wrestling match. Yeah, 10, 15 years ago it was incredible. It was awesome. But now Hogan, with all the back surgery and the knee problems and everything, there's no way that him and Sting can put on a good wrestling match. So nobody wants to see that. You know, I would rather see Sting wrestling with guys like Bully Ray, putting Bully Ray over. You know, they're trying to get Bully Ray as a singles competitor, trying to get him up in the main event, and I think that's great. If anybody deserves to be there, I believe it's Bully Ray and Devon. I mean, because the tag team, what they did in the tag team division, no one's ever going to touch that. They were an incredible tag team. Now, if they want them to go part ways and start singles, you know, that's great. Put Bully Ray in there against Sting and let him actually get over on Sting. You know, build him up. You know, get him up there. You got guys like Crimson. Crimson's an incredible character. He's kind of like the modern-day Goldberg, but he's got that fire and that passion about him. That Mike, or Matt, God, what's his name? The Blueprint, Matt Morgan.
Oh, yeah.
That guy's awesome, you know? Alex Shelley is awesome, and I can't wait for Chris Sabin to get back. You know, from injury, I hope they put them back together as Motor City Machine Guns and let them keep rolling the way they've been doing, because seeing them out there is just incredible. So, I mean, TNA, they got an incredible roster, and I honestly and truthfully to God believe that if TNA or Impact or whatever the crap they're calling themselves these days, if they would just stop trying to live the old days and trying to resurrect RCW, or trying to compete with WWE, and just do their thing, and just put on a good show like they were doing 5 years ago. If they get back to that and capitalize on that and keep it going, I honestly and truly believe that they could either be a contender or overtake the WWE. And, of course, switching over to WWE, the reason I say that, WWE lately, I still watch it. It's still enjoyable, but it's just getting to where it's too bland. It's too predictable. I mean, the stuff they're doing with CM Punk right now is cool. CM Punk versus Triple H, yeah, I guess that'd be good. It'd probably been better than CM Punk versus Kevin Nash, because Nash, I just don't think he can really. I don't think Nash could compete in a good 20-minute match and make it good, because he's got his own injuries, and he don't need to be in the ring wrestling. He needs to be bodyguard.
Yeah.
This mess with Cena. Cena's an incredible worker. You know, he's the top dog in WWE. I understand that. And I'm a Cena fan. You know, a lot of people hate John Cena, you know, whatever. But I respect the man because he like he said, he goes out there every single night. Every house show John Cena's at. He don't care. He's not too good. He's not like the old wrestlers like Hogan and Sting and Flair and all those guys that would only show up on Nitro or only show up on Raw. You know, he will go and do house show appearances. Even if he's out there wrestling Heath Slater at a house show, he'll do it. You know, because he enjoys it. He's out there for the fans. He wants to put over for the fans. And that's the reason why I have so much respect for John Cena. But I'm tired of seeing John Cena. I'm sick of it. I really am. And this whole deal with John Cena versus The Rock at WrestleMania, I don't give a flying flip's ass about that. I really don't. I don't care about The Rock. I think The Rock is overrated. 10 years ago he was freaking awesome. He was the man back in the Attitude Era. Yeah, he was. He still comes on there and he can still entertain. But he has no damn business disappearing for a freaking year and them still talking about their match at WrestleMania. And you know he's going to show up around Royal Rumble, Elimination Chamber, somewhere in that time zone. And it'll be all video feed. He'll be on Raw and SmackDown maybe once or twice leading up to WrestleMania. Then they'll have their match. You know The Rock is going to beat Cena. There's no way in hell Cena is going to beat The Rock in Miami. It's not going to happen.
Oh, no.
You know, and to me, that's just stupid. That's what really pisses me off about WWE. Why are you going to take one of your top competitors, and in my opinion, at that point, put them in the ring against a celebrity and have the celebrity win? That's kind of like what they did with Bam Bam years ago whenever he wrestled, what was the black football player? I can't think of his name now.
Lawrence Taylor?
Yeah. That, to me, was stupid. At that particular time, Bam Bam was in his prime. He was awesome. He went out, he kicked ass, you know. He was cool. And they put him in a match against Lawrence Taylor and let Lawrence Taylor beat him.
I remember that.
I mean, why? That's the thing that drives me insane about WWE. And then with Randy Orton. I am sick and tired of seeing Randy Orton as a champ. I'm tired of it. I really am. I honestly hope that they let Mark Henry beat him and get the belt. Because Mark Henry needs to be the champion. He has been working for WWE off and on for several years now. He's had an incredible run. He's had great gimmicks. And they do this crap where he just, you know, you're going to take out Kane. You're going to take out the Big Show. You sure as hell better take out the world champion and become the champ, in my opinion. But the politics, you know, Randy Orton's not going to lose that belt to Mark Henry. And that just pisses me off. And that's why I say WWE is so bland and so predictable. I mean, you know what's going to happen before it even happens. And what they did to Christian, to me, is stupid. How they're treating the divas is ridiculous and unheard of. You got this excellent diva, you know, Melina. Yes, she's got, you know, heat backstage. Yes, she's got problems or issues or whatever, but she can perform. And you know that Melina is going to show up in TNA sometime probably around October, November, and she's going to tear up the knockout division in TNA.
I agree.
Now, you know it. Now, as far as Gail Kim, I don't know if she'll go back to TNA or not. She should, because TNA made Gail Kim. It's the same thing with Christian. TNA turned Christian into a main eventer, you know, and he goes back to WWE. They give him a run with the ECW title, make him lose it on the last ECW show, which made no freaking sense.
No, not really.
Give him a world title, make him lose it, 2 nights later on SmackDown. Then he has to do something stupid to win it back, and then turn around the next pay-per-view and lose it back again. I mean, it's just like, what the hell are they thinking? You know, if they weren't going to let Christian have a legitimate run as the champ, they should have never given him the title to begin with.
And then he lost again on the past Super Show, the Super SmackDown?
Yeah, where he had the cage match with Orton.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, to me, if that's going to be it, that's going to end that feud, that's fine. I think Christian should go to Raw. I think that if Cena ends up beating Alberto Del Rio at Night of Champions, then I think Christian should start feuding with Cena. You know, that to me would be better, because if they're going to put someone over on Christian, it may as well be Cena, you know?
Yeah.
Because to me, Cena will let Christian get over on him. He'll let Christian get the better of him. Cena has no problem, because Cena knows it's all business. Whereas Randy Orton, on the other hand, you've heard all the nasty rumors and everything that, where he's going to make problems, and he's going to, he wants to be the champ all the time. He feels that, just because his dad's in the Hall of Fame, that he deserves everything type crap. And, I'm surprised that Randy Orton let Christian beat him to begin with, And, of course, he didn't beat him, legitimately. It had to be a stupid no DQ, low blow garbage.
Yeah. He couldn't get it.
He couldn't take Christian's finisher and get pinned 1, 2, 3 in the center of the ring.
Yeah.
And to me, that's why WWE, in my opinion right now, which people are probably going to bash me for this and think I'm stupid, but right now, I think that WWE and TNA both need to up their game, seriously. Because it's to the point now where there's so many people out there that are talking crap about wrestling, and it's just not enjoyable anymore. I don't think wrestling is ever going to be as good as it was back during the Monday Night Wars, because there's no excitement. That was the whole point of wrestling back then. It's wondering what's going to happen next. Who's going to deflect next? Who from WCW is going to show up on Raw? Who from Raw is going to show up on Nitro? Because all this contract bullshit was not in existence then. And I mean, I could rant on and on and on and on and on about this for hours and hours and hours. I better just cut it off right there.
We got all day. Some of us do. We probably don't. We probably don't need to do that. Okay. We're gonna move to. This will probably be the last question, or one of the last questions. But your channel is Haduke Entertainment. You not only do call shows on it, you make entertainment videos. If you want to, you can explain all about what you do besides call.
Well, the whole idea with Haduke Entertainment was originally I'd wanted to be kind of like a vlogger and do videos every few days, just talking about different things, personal life stuff, and then other stuff, and then mix in a little bit of comedy and of course, call, is another primary thing. But I just kind of strayed away from that. I hadn't really had very many ideas or anything to really run with. So right now, I'm looking for ideas. So if anybody has any ideas of something comedic that I can do, go ahead. I've got the little moderator box set up on my channel. Just go ahead and type in something. Let me know what you'd like to see me do. And as long as it's reasonable and legal, I'll go for it, because that's what I want to try to do with that channel. I just want to try to make it into an entertainment channel and just have fun with it. As far as when RCW comes back, I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to upload to that channel or if I'm going to try to create a new channel, or maybe even use the old RCW Call League channel. I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet, so that's kind of still up in the air. So yeah, that's the plan with Haduke Entertainment for now, is just to try to use it as kind of a vlog style channel with a mix of comedy. So if you got some ideas, some things you'd like to see me do, people who know me or have seen past videos, my style of comedy. So
you can always do the chicken dance.
Yeah, maybe I might be able to. I don't know.
All right. It's been an interesting interview as always, Duke. Anything you want to add before we end this show? Anything in particular?
No, I don't think there's anything else really to say. I think I've said it all. So
that's cool. I appreciate you being on the show.
I appreciate you having me. It was fun as always.
Oh yeah, it's always interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
But everybody, I want y'all to stay tuned, because I'm not for sure I'll have any more interviews today. I probably will. I got an interview with Nameless Flux, owner of BCW. I got one with Calberg, the owner of Calex / Alex Snow, and a couple other people from other colleagues. So hope y'all stay tuned to that. But till next time, this is Smokey and this is Haduke. Peace from the smoke room.